Hi, I'm Brent Haiti, mentor, coach, and ideal life architect with One Wave Life, and this is Calm Waters, the podcast about creating freedom, experiencing balance, and living a rewarding life while also growing a thriving and successful business. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I am very excited this morning to be able to speak with Kat Halushka of Profitable Impact Academy, and start to just explore a little bit about Kat's world, working and home, and seeing what is going on there. So welcome, Kat. How are you?
Thank you.
How are
Thank
you
you for having
today?
me. I'm
No problem.
pretty damn great. It's a good morning to spend together, right?
Excellent, excellent. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a while here and learning a little bit more about you and the work that you do and your company, but also how it is that you've got to be where you're at right now. Things, as I know you and I've talked to you before, things are going fairly well in many respects, and I'd love to share that with our listeners here today. So before we dive into that, though, tell us a little bit about Profitable Impact Academy and what it is that you do, and how it's set up, how it's designed, and just more about your business.
For sure. So, Profitable Impact Academy has two different sides. Is it done for you marketing and business coaching services? So, it's very much focused on helping an entrepreneur and business owner start from an idea and grow it into something that can replace their job. I think for majority of entrepreneurs, that's the goal number one, right? How do I replace my income and not have to go to the 9 to 5? And then after
Absolutely,
that,
yeah,
the
yeah.
true growth, right? The true growth when you start working yourself out of having to put in hours. So this is where I'm at, right? Is in that true growth, is trying to work myself out of the business. So I'm excited to get more people there, really.
Nice. Well, that definitely is the path that so many new business owners, entrepreneurs begin with, right? They're good at something, they're great at something. They decide, I don't want to work for somebody else anymore. I'm going to
Yeah.
start my own business. I mean, I can speak with that in my own path. Often we have the pie in the sky kind of vision of what that might look like, and don't realize the work and the time and the effort that's involved, especially early on, and especially if we're bootstrapping. And nice to see that you've got that support to help them not only grow and enhance during that time, especially from a marketing perspective, but to help them move toward that next step. I love that next step. So you founded the company. There's yourself and others in the organization. And how long have you been uh, doing the work that you've been doing in this company?
I think this one, it's me and my business partner, Kim Carson Richards. We started it together almost 4 years ago now. So it's been a while.
Yeah. So you, as a business owner in your business, kind of walking the talk, then how have you been able to allow yourself to not be involved so much in the day to day, and what's it meant for you? What are you able to what's use your freedom for um, in your day to day life?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it came to a question that I think a lot of people ask themselves a little bit younger, which is, what do I want to be when I grow up, right?
Right. Yeah.
And for me, I didn't know that. So when I was starting this business, it was from two passionate people coming together and trying to bring more entrepreneurs together.
Yeah.
I didn't know it's going to grow into this.
Yeah.
And having this company really allows for me to have the time flexibility and the financial flexibility to do other things like explore hobbies, which was another question that I was stuck with in my 30s, is what is it that I actually enjoy doing outside of work? It's so easy
Yeah.
to get lost in the work, right? It's
Yeah.
so easy to be like not a full-time, over full-time entrepreneur, where you're literally working not just 40 hours now, but you're working 60, some of you 80 hours a week. That was me, right? Becoming a pure workaholic and just focusing so much in the business because I loved what I'm doing, and forgetting,
Yeah.
oh, hey, there's life over here,
Yeah.
right? Like there's
Yeah.
other things. So having the flexibility to explore hobbies, sports, focus on my health,
Yeah.
being able to go on vacation when I want to, not just that once a year, right? Being able to take a day off when I need it. That's a big one for me.
Love
is
it.
waking up and being like, you know what, I'm not feeling mentally the greatest today. I'm just gonna take a day off and read a book and have a coffee and go for a walk and take care of me and what
Yeah.
I need today so that I can continue growing this thing called business.
That is the essence really of the concept of freedom. And it's something that I love to focus on, because with freedom comes choice, comes options.
Mhm.
And just like you're saying, there's days when it's focused definitely on the business and focused on uh, fulfilling that role of what do I want to be when I grow up, and finding those things that you're passionate about and strong at, and they make a big difference in your company. But then there's other days when you're having an off day, or you don't feel well, or some other thing comes up that you want to and need to tend to, and you can easily then just slip away
Mhm.
and know that things are okay at work. And when we can do that, there's a whole lot of that load taken off the shoulders. So you mentioned a couple of things, and it brings up kind of two questions from me then. You talked about it. So first, what do you want to be when you grow up? How do you define that, right? You've given it some thought, right? You mentioned that. So when you think about that, when you kind of define it or describe it to someone, um, the roles you take on in your business, the way that you contribute in a meaningful, impactful way. What is that? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, and I dove so deep into that over the last 2 years, and just digging deep into who am I? Because for a lot of people, when you ask who are you, the first thing that comes out is their job, right? Their job
I
description.
am my
I'm an
business. I am my
accountant, I'm
job.
a business coach, I'm a doctor, right? I'm a mom. It's a job too, right? And the
Absolutely.
truth is, there's so much more to a human being than just what they do. And so I had to really dig not just into the skill set of what it is that I'm good at, but also what are some of the things that are firing me up when I do. And the truth is, at the core of what was firing up is seeing that transformation of my clients, is seeing that first sale come through, is
Yeah.
seeing how
Yeah.
they see their clients transform. And so I call myself a lot of the times I'm the best support role that you can get in your business, right? Not
Nice.
just the cheerleader, but the best support role. I'm the sidekick, right?
Nice.
I'm not the person doing the work. I'm the person
Yeah.
who is helping the business owner do the work in the way that
Nice.
it fulfills them. For me, I knew that that was the core of it, and the skill set came really around it. So the skills that I have acquired, the team that I have acquired, the people that I hired moving forward all came from how can I provide the best support role for an entrepreneur in order to succeed in what they want, in order to find out what do they want to be when they grow up. Because sometimes people start a business because they want to get out of the workplace, not always because they're passionate about something. And they
Mm-hmm.
start from an idea, but
Yeah.
they don't know how to develop it, right? So
Yeah.
for me, that was a big thing. So I knew when I grow up, I definitely want to be in that support role. I'm really good at it. I love it. It fires me up. It fires me up to see that little spark that
Yeah.
happens in people's eyes when they
Yeah.
do that one thing. And I wanted to reignite that for a lot of people. So business coach was a natural progression. Am I going to end up being a business coach for the rest of my life? I don't know. Maybe I'll uncover something else I want to do when I grow up. I'm
Yeah.
definitely open to that, open to opportunities. But I want that spark in people's eyes, in more people's eyes, knowing that they can do it and they
Yeah.
have the resources
Yeah.
and they have the people and they have the community
Yeah.
like you and me, right? There's everything that's aligning for them to reignite that spark within themselves and start a business that they actually enjoy.
Seeing that spark, right?
Mhm.
That's the essence of it. Uh, what you're referring to is a deeper sense of purpose, and
Yes.
it's what fuels the fire, right? Like you say, it's what gets you up out of bed, eager and ready to do what you do. But it isn't necessarily tied to your business, right? If something was
Absolutely.
to happen, if you sold your business tomorrow, if your business went out of business tomorrow,
Mhm.
this fire, this inner sense of purpose wouldn't go away. You would just look to manifest it in a different way somewhere else. And
Yeah, and that's like such an important conversation too. Like Brent, we were talking about it on one of our calls now. Sometimes, although you do what you love to do, how you do it is what puts out your fire.
uh,
And that was my story too, is when I started Profitable Impact Academy, we followed this specific business model and specific marketing strategy. And although it was generating a lot of revenue in the business and it was working so well, it was really, really putting out my fire because I was stressed out. I was tired. I was constantly on the edge. I didn't know
mhm.
what's next. I didn't have vacation. I didn't have days off. I was the person working 60 to 80 hours a week
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
care so much about my clients. It didn't work for me. I ended up burning out. Within a year and a half, I ended up so burnt out. I
yeah.
didn't want to do business anymore. Never mind that specific business.
So that raises a really interesting point, and unfortunately, an all too common one for so many business owners out there is that we get so caught up in doing
Mm,
the business the way that we're doing it, or the way that we should do it, or someone else told us that's the way it needs to be, that it doesn't serve us well, and we get on an unsustainable path. Some of us get on an unsustainable path, and we follow it indefinitely because it's bad enough that it's causing an impact in our business, in our lives, in our health, in our relationships, and everywhere else, but not so bad as to cause, say, a crash or a wake up call to say, hold on a second, this isn't right. I need to do something about it. So um, back then, when you were in the midst of this, was there, what was your inner voice saying to you? What were uh, uh, voices even, or pressures from outside of you? What was the message that you were receiving to say, keep on going, keep, work harder, work
mm.
longer? That's the path to success, that kept you going before you finally decided, okay, I need to do something, and you changed it. What was going on at that time? It'd be something I'd love to hear, because it's
Yeah,
something that I'm sure so many others might be right in the midst of right now, having their inner voice chirping
absolutely.
at them, or somebody else chirping at them, that just keeps them locked and stuck.
And part of it is the voices in the head. It's almost like an inner battle happening because while I was tired and exhausted and knew that I really should take some time off, right? The keep going was coming from, first of all, the fear of disappointing people. It was disappointing my clients. It was disappointing my business coach, right? It was really being scared that I'm going to let people down. And the other part of it was really seeing that, well, it's working. Why would I stop doing it? Because it's so easy to get caught up in the overall revenue of the business and being like, I'm making money. If I'm going to shut this down, there will be no money coming in. But
Yeah.
ultimately,
But
that's
then,
what I
right?
ended up doing
Yeah.
is I had to shut it down and start from scratch because the red flags started popping up, right?
Yeah.
The gaining 40 pounds in 3 months, the being exhausted every single morning, the getting sick all the time, right? So all those red flags are going up, and I had to listen to them because it was that, or eventually I have a feeling there would be a tragedy.
Yeah. So was the red flags come up, and I'm sure people can probably resonate with the ones that you've just described, but there are many, many others out there that people experience, and that you perhaps experienced yourself. I know I have. Sometimes we see the red flags and we just kind of push them aside. I'll
Mhm.
deal with that later when things ease up.
Yep.
When when we finish this project, when we hit a certain income target, when, whatever the story is, that inner voice of, once I get to this, then I can take care of these other things. And it just kind of, the carrot keeps on dangling because something else keeps on coming up in front of us, just to kind of keep it going. And when those red flags, like I said, they haven't led to the crash, the tragedy perhaps, but at some point, hopefully most people will um, pause just long enough to be able to look at it to say, okay, now is the time. It's bad enough. It's good, probably going to get worse, but it's bad enough now to do something about it. Was there a moment like that for you where you kind of finally saw enough of the red flags to say, time to change some things?
Really, it came from a mix of inner guidance and conversation that I've had with my business partner. I look at her as my mentor. We have a lot of very heartfelt conversations, frankly, not just about the
Mm-hmm.
business, but about what's happening for us while we're growing this business. And part of that was a question, how big does this red flag really need to be in
Right.
order for me to realize something is not aligning,
Right.
right? Like, do I need to get in a car accident? Do I need to end up in the hospital? Like, do I need to have a heart attack? Like, how big of a red flag am I waiting for here, right?
Yeah.
And why am I waiting for that? So when me and Kim sat down and had conversations, and we sat down and just looked at each other, be like, "Are you as tired as I am?" And she goes, "Yeah." I'm like, okay, is something not going the way that we thought it would?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're like, let's do the very, very simple pros and cons list, right?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
going well? What's going not so well? And we're lucky we've had so many mentors and coaches in our life. And I'm such a believer in what you do, Brent. Like, such a believer. Everybody should have guidance, and that guidance should be coming from people who are not biased, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
parents are probably the worst guidance, and we know that, right? Friends, they're always your cheerleaders, and that's amazing. But can they really have that honest, deep
Yeah.
conversation on, hey, you gotta look at this, like
Yeah.
really look at this, really sit with it.
Yeah.
So luckily we have each other and we have other mentors who have had those conversations and brought
Yeah.
concerns to us. Where, when was the last time you took a day off? When was the last time you took a week off?
Yeah.
When was the last time you didn't wake up thinking about your to-do list? That's a big one. Because if you wake up and it's the phone and then it's to do and that's the emails and then you got to check on Facebook group and whatever else, right? That's not a fulfilling life. That's you
It's
fulfilling somebody else's services, right?
yeah.
It's not fulfilling life.
Many important questions to ask, right? And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there around support. And yes, there's absolutely a great level of support that a coach can offer. Of course, I'm going to say that, but not to dismiss the other levels that you talked about. Sure, in talking to your parents, they're going to have a certain bias, and you need to be able to listen to hear. There's
Mhm.
there's perhaps some good experience that they can offer that you can draw from, and there's perhaps things that you might need to just let aside because of maybe their fears or
Mhm.
their worries or their concerns for their kid, right? Same thing with friends. And their friends, it's that difference between a friend or an acquaintance like that being, like you say, an enabler, where they're just
Mhm.
enabling the behavior or the continuing forward on the path that you're on to happen. At the same time, if you have a true friend, a good friend, they're going to kick you in the butt. And that was
I
my
sure
experience
hope so.
when I was in that place of being stuck. It was one of my best friends that ultimately kicked me in the butt and said, hey, look, this isn't right, and here's how I see things, and you got to do something about it. And it acted like a bit of a wake-up call. It wasn't
Mhm.
the it wasn't all of the support and the answers that I needed, but it was the one that kind of just got it going. So everybody's going to be unique and different in that, and your story different than my story, different than somebody else's story. It's the step that helps you move forward. You have a business partner, you've been able to have those conversations, and isn't it interesting that when you kind of both had to ask one another, are you getting burned out, are you feeling, I forget your exact word, are you tired all the time? And uh you had to wait to hear the answer from the other to go, oh yeah, me too. And but it starts the dialogue, right? And it starts the
Yeah.
conversation. And then with the support you had from the many levels that you had, including just you and your business partner actually having that dialogue, um, you made a change. You
Mhm.
decided to make a big change. So tell us, what was that step that took you off of the path that you were on and put you onto a new path that led to, you know, where you're at now and where you're continuing to go?
And when it came to it, just to emphasize specifics of the change, is we used to run a 1 year long group coaching program, a mastermind. It was working really, really well. Our clients are getting really good success. Like, we have so many success stories from that. It's amazing. And marketing that program is what burned us out. So what we really had to look at is, do we keep going and marketing that way, or do we shut everything down and start from scratch and actually work on creating a business that serves us as human beings, not just as business owners? So we ended up shutting down that program, and that's like the program that generated over $500,000 of revenue. It took some time because we did want to fulfill on the promise to the people who have already joined.
Of
And
course.
so
Yeah.
once the last person attritioned out, that was it. That was it for
Wow.
us. We really had to sit down and look at each other and be, what's next?
Wow.
What are we going to do now?
So how did
And
you feel during that process of
oh, it
knowing
was
that you were letting
terrifying.
go that level of an income and
Mhm.
essentially going to be starting over with a bit of fear, a bit of worry, a bit of
Oh gosh, it
excitement,
was
or
terrifying.
I bet, hey?
I can imagine that a lot of people can relate to the fear of unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's also that fear of what I'm doing now, right? Is there's so many people that already believe in what we do, believe in us, and we're turning to them and saying, actually, we're just gonna turn it off. And we're gonna turtle in for a little bit, and we're gonna do something else. People
Yeah.
were looking up to us, right? That's what it came to. Is so there was that fear of letting people down, fear of what's happening, fear of the unknown. There's so many fears that were coming up.
So how did they respond?
And
Other people, how did they respond to your decision and then starting to take those steps?
we had people who were so grateful to see someone being real about business and what that business is actually hard, what it
Yeah.
actually means to build a business and grow a business, no matter how profitable it is. It doesn't matter if you're making $10 a month or if you're making $100,000 a month. The transparency that we brought to our clients, showing them that, you know what, sometimes it's okay to change your mind. And that was actually my theme last year. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
change your mind. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to change your path.
Yeah.
It's okay to look at it and do something different. So clients were very grateful for it. Some were, of course, sad because they did enjoy being a part of the mastermind and they wanted to keep going.
Sure. There's
And at the end
relationships
of
that
the
are
day,
building there. There's a sense of community and support,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of people were curious what the heck happened because they were on the outside watching
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So treat it as a debut of us telling our story. Your podcast is the first podcast we're sharing that on. So I'm excited to share it out and
Oh, I
and
love that.
show more people that it's okay to look at your business, even if it's
Yeah.
profitable, even if it's generating good revenue, even if it looks like it's going so well.
Yeah.
I'm doing air
Yeah.
quotes here. It looks
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's going so well. It's okay to really look at it from perspective if it fits your lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
We always talked about building a lifestyle business. And somewhere along the way, I feel like the lines got a little blurry
Yeah.
on what the lifestyle is. And the focus went from lifestyle to business.
Well, that's it. I'm sure it took a lot of courage for the two of you to be able to assess that the way it was and not be simply swayed by this is successfully financially successfully working. Why break it up? Why do something different when it's going as
Mhm.
well as it is? But to be able to really look at it deep down for the both of you, not only just in business, but as well for your life away from that, and say, we can do better. And we want something different. We want something more for yourselves, for your lives, and ultimately for your
Yeah.
clients. And that's a powerful step to take, but not, like you said, not a real easy one. And you kind of did it the Band-Aid approach, right? Of simply, let's just end this thing, and you were true to your clients, of course, in doing so, but let's end this thing and then start up. Not everybody will have that willingness, or perhaps that financial ability or a time ability to do so. And it's just a matter of how you go about it. And your way was your way. It worked for you. Others, it may not be the same, but ultimately the goal is similar. It's to be able to be on a path, and with the nature of the work that you do. And this is something that really stands out to me as I hear your story, is that for the two of you running your business in the way that you are now, with the approach that it is, and going back to your clients and saying, hey, we decided to make a change, and it's because of these reasons, personal and professional, that you are so much more walking your talk. You're living your purpose. You're living in alignment with it, and that's ultimately how you are helping your clients to be able to move in that direction too. I mean, it's a similar thing that I do as well, right? But to get there requires that inner strength. It requires that support around you so that you can overcome the hurdles, because and you've described some of them. There can be many of them. So congratulations on that, and I hope it continues to grow in that way. And I love that you've made the shift that you have. So if you were to give some advice to someone listening who might be in that place where you've been, that stuck, overworked, overwhelmed, not necessarily loving the work that you do, simply because of the impact it's having, and trying to find a way out. You know, the red flags are coming up, but the tragedy hopefully is not going to be happening. The wake-up call is coming along soon. What are a few key tips that you might be able to give someone to help them get from seeing the red flags to, here's the wake-up call, take the step? Thoughts on that?
I think a big part of what happened for us, and if you find yourself in the same situation, not you, Brent, but the listeners, first of all, really pay attention. So sit with it and really think back to the last few months, maybe even few years, right? And think of, when was the last time that you were happy with how you're running your business and how things are going. Money is just one aspect of happiness. And I know there's the whole saying of money can't buy happiness, but it sure feels nice. So
There's
money
nothing
is
wrong with making a
definitely,
lot of money, but not at the expense of everything else.
yeah. So money is important, but if you're stuck in a perpetual cycle of working for that money so hard that you can't even use it, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes to. So really think back to, when was the last time you were happy with your business and what that looked like. And then really realize that change is okay. Change is actually encouraged. Change is something that happens every single day in our life as is. We just don't notice it.
Yes.
And look for that mentorship, advice, someone who's been through it, right? Look for people like Brent, like myself, like other mentors, and get them activated. Get the outsiders look into your business to see and help you figure out how you can shift. I'm not saying closing your business or closing a big ass program like mine, right, is the right way to do it. It's just what we decided to do at the time. There's so many different things that you can do in order to shift into the right direction for you. So looking for people who have been there, they know what you don't. They're not biased. They can look at your business. They can look at your stats. They can look at your finances. They can look at you and where you are at, and help you shift out of where you're stuck right now. That's my biggest advice. And that's because that's what we did. Ultimately, you will be making a choice on how you want to move forward. And if you choose to keep going the way that you have been going, I think we all know where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
What do you call it? A crash.
Thank you for sharing that. And hopefully, this discussion we're having right now itself can act as a bit of a wake-up call for someone out there, and it can make a world of difference in them taking that next step towards reaching out to someone, or being open to someone's support such that they can create that change. And that change can come just, just like that snap of the fingers, or it can be that change that happens over some period of time. There is no absolute way that it has to happen.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the things I talk about when it comes to marketing, to get a little more specific on that, is there's not one way to market a business. And logically, we all know this, and yet we keep doing the same thing that either doesn't work for us as lifestyle or doesn't work for us at all because it's not working, right? So you really need to look at if marketing is what's really bogging you down, whether it's not aligning, it's not working, it's not bringing leads, or perhaps you're just hating what it is that you do. Like I see a lot of people getting into YouTube and podcasting and TikTok. I'm sorry, I just can't do TikTok. Can't do it. And that means I won't do it.
Yeah.
So if you need someone to give you permission right now to not do the marketing the way someone told you, this is your permission.
We
right?
do
So
things
really,
because we're told that we should, right?
exactly,
That's the best way, the newest, latest, greatest, or the
We're
tried and
bombarded
true.
by those messages every single day.
Yeah.
Do this one thing and that will cause success in your business. So just know there's not just one way, right? And that's why having someone look into your business and how you do business is so valuable.
Great insight. Great insight. So what's next for you, Kat? Now that you've gone through that change that you did, you've got Profitable Impact Academy rolling the way that you want it to. You are taking more time for yourself and looking after yourself. And we just before we got on the call here today, we were talking about the early morning versus not so early morning, and how you love to sort of ease into your day now and not just be waking up and go, go, go. How will you continue to do more? Is there something else on the horizon that you're working towards? Where is the dream going to take you next?
For me personally, it's finding joy in my life in general. So that's something that I thrive for every single day, is finding something that brings me joy, which, when I say joy, I mean, like, when you're like 6 and you jump in a puddle and it splashes and you just love it.
And you just
That's what I
giggle.
want.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I want. I just want to find more moments like that in my life, because for so long I denied it to myself.
Yeah.
And I thought I had to be this adult, and I had to be a specific way, and I had to show up a certain way.
Yeah.
So I want more fulfilling life, not just in business, but also in my personal life.
Nice.
And I'm so blessed that the business, the way we shifted it right now, allows for me to have that, to have the time, the flexibility, the finances to find more of those moments.
Nice.
And so I'll continue doing that. And who knows, maybe I'll even start a podcast about it.
There you go. So you talked about, just before we wrap up for today, you talked earlier about hobbies, and you said you asked yourself that question when you were self-reflecting about what hobbies do I have or do I want to do? And then just a moment ago, you talked about kind of reflecting back to when you were 6 or when you were young and jumping in a puddle. And sometimes we can think people have hobbies, you love doing them, and you just want to be able to do more of those things. But think back to something that you loved to do when you were younger. Maybe it was last year, maybe it was many years ago, maybe it was when you were a kid. And boy, it would be fun to get back into doing that again, picking that back up again. Anything that just kind of pops into your mind as far as what that might be for you? Maybe that's a new hobby into the future to reconnect with.
It's so interesting. So for me, when I was little, what I wanted to be when I grow up was a teacher.
Okay.
So it's interesting that you could say my job is kind of aligned with that.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
even then, I would come up with the way to teach other people different things. Like I would teach them how to do dishes, or I would teach them how to cook. I think there's something there. So I'm uncovering a lot of the things that what is it that really made me enjoy it? And part of it was people. So I'm exploring that concept right now of what does it look like for me to bring people together in the concept of learning, not just
Okay.
learning skills, but
Yeah.
learning life. Like I
Okay.
said, part of that could be starting a podcast, and that's part of the things, Brent. Right? Is
Yeah.
exploring looks like getting messy in the
Yeah. Yeah.
sandbox and
Yeah.
realizing that castle is falling apart and building a new one. So
Yeah.
that's what my life is going to look like over the next little while, exploring those hobbies. And what did I enjoy when I was a child is building those castles and see which one brings me joy, which one I'm actually going to
Yeah.
enjoy building on.
Yeah. And now that you have a clearer sense of purpose, as you've talked about, that way of giving support, tapping
Mm-hmm.
into your inner teacher that you've always, like you said, you've always wanted to do, the possibilities are endless. And
And
if you approach it from the possibilities are endless perspective, you can build up some new things and impact in many different ways. Some of them might just be for fun. Some of them might be completely unrelated to, say, the work you're doing now, but it all will be a way of manifesting who you are and
absolutely.
how you want to live.
Yeah. And I was just talking to my mom this morning about the interesting part of growing up in a different environment. I grew up in Belarus, so in a different country.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've uncovered that I really enjoy doing in my adulthood is I really enjoy racket sports. But when I was a child, I never had access to that. So I wouldn't
Ah,
even have an ability to uncover something like that because we didn't have tennis and we didn't
yeah.
have those things.
Yeah.
So now that I'm in my 30s, I look at it and go, man, I'm really good at it and I really
Nice.
like doing it, but I never had the time or the ability
Yeah.
to explore that part.
Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting because I find that your environment affects so much of what it is that you enjoy doing as a child, because
Yeah.
not all of us had the same access and resources.
Yeah. And that's a great way of putting it. It's not necessarily something that you enjoyed, it's something that you wish you could have done, but didn't have the
Yeah.
resources, didn't have the means at the time. But now you can go, okay, I'd like to try that. Never done it before, but I'd like to try that. And then you
Yeah.
discover, maybe it's you discover, okay, tried it once. No, maybe not anymore. But you might also find something that you're passionate about, and it becomes a hobby, it becomes an activity, becomes a sport, for instance, in this case, that you love to do. And that can kind of go into just about anything. So it really just kind of comes back to when you have the freedom of time to reflect and um, look at things like that, then when you have the freedom of, say, the means, or just the ability to set it up to step away from, say, working all the time, you can try new things
Yes.
and explore new things. And it may be something that really taps into that inner sense of purpose and how you want to make your mark in the world. Or it might be something that's just fun and I want to do it because it brings joy and it takes some of the pressure off from when you are working and doing the things that do drive you. So in there is some sense of balance, and that sense of balance is something that is unique to each and every one of us and how we approach it and how we live it. And I love that you are finding yours.
Yes.
So let's wrap things up here today. Thank you for your time and sharing about yourself and sharing about the journey that you've been on. I love hearing this story. As we came into the discussion, into our chat here today, certainly there was some questions that I was going to ask and some things that you wanted to share. But is there anything that you wish that I would have asked you about your path and your journey, but I didn't? Anything that we kind of forgot about that you'd like to add in and tell us a little bit more about before we wrap up?
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to share a little bit more about myself is I think I dropped a little note there is I am an immigrant. So I immigrated to Canada when I was 19, still pretty young. But
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of people who have immigrated over the last few years, especially.
yeah.
And I just want people to understand that being an immigrant is not a limitation. It's almost a superpower because the amount of dedication and work and the amount of exploration that immigrants have to do in order to integrate within a new country, a new culture, a new society is
Hmm.
so much higher. So if you think about the comfort circle as a little rubber band, right?
Yeah,
Ours is stretched a little further than most of the people who are born here and raised
it
here.
definitely does, right?
And so I call it an advantage, really. And so I want to just remind people, or if you're just moved to a different country, I want to point it out to you: is your comfort zone is probably much much larger than the majority of the people around you. And
Hmm.
so leverage it, use it. Know that you're willing to go a few steps further than some of the people, right? And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for moving, for doing the hard thing. I'm proud of you for every single one of you who is a business owner, for really going out of your comfort zone and believing in something enough to start a business.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to see more people explore that part of the world as being an entrepreneur or business owner and having an ability to truly create a change, not just
Hmm.
within your job, but by creating more jobs.
Love it. The mindset shift towards being new to a country and going through the process of starting a business in it is a superpower, and one that one can embrace rather than perhaps move along fearfully, wondering how things are going to work out,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that there are many others like yourself included that have done so. And if we look back over the ages of a country like ours, absolutely built so much on the immigrants from all over the world coming and applying their trades and starting their businesses and going through the steps that are there. And you know, to circle back around to your story and to what many that we want to focus on is that can do so in a way where it doesn't have to be overwhelming and stressing and leading to burnout and many other the challenges, that it can be a path that can tap into that inner sense of purpose, that can tap into the difference that they want to make and support a family and become a get to the point where they're living comfortably where they're living and have a life that they love, which is the most important piece. So thank you for sharing that piece as well. And I love the fact that you are operating on all fronts, and I'm eager and looking forward to seeing where it takes you next. And maybe one day we'll even see you on the racket courts there playing up a game of tennis or racquetball or squash or maybe even pickleball. Who knows? So,
Deal. You're
all right.
on.
Once again, thank you so much, Kat Halushka from Profitable Impact Academy. I will add your contact information in our show notes if people do want to reach out to you and be able to tap into all that you have brought to your business and where you're headed next.
Thank
So
you so
thanks
much for
again,
having
Kat.
me. Bye now.
Have a great day. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. I hope you have at least one new insight that you can take away and apply to your business or your life right now, and that you've been inspired to rise above the waves of stress, overwhelm, or unhappiness that currently crash down all around you. I hope the message of today's podcast has motivated you to harness the power within those waves so that you can redirect them and begin to ride wave after wave of change towards the calm waters of a thriving business and a life you love. In our One Wave global community, you'll find our members are just like you. They share many of the same challenges that you face. They want to create and live their version of the One Wave lifestyle at work and at home. and they love the form of mutual support that our community brings. Come check us out at onewaveglobal.com. And if you feel the need for a higher level of direct personal coaching, then contact me through our website at onewavelife.com. Till next time, be healthy, be happy, and live fully.